A shy nursing student missed her clinical shift to bandage a stranger's wound. The next day, a CEO. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Emily was a shy nursing student who always felt out of place. She wasn't the type to stand out in a crowd, nor was she the one to speak up during clinical shifts. Her world revolved around textbooks, patient care, and the quiet hope that one day, she would make a difference in the world. But that day was not today. It was a rainy afternoon when Emily stood at the bus stop, her mind racing with thoughts about the clinical shift she was about to miss. The hospital was expecting her, but fate had other plans. As she waited for the bus to take her to her shift, she noticed a man sitting on the curb across the street, clutching his leg and grimacing in pain. Without a second thought, she stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. He looked hurt, and instinctively, Emily knew she couldn't just walk away. She rushed over to him, her nursing instincts kicking in. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. He looked up at her with a pained smile. "I think I've twisted my ankle," he replied, his voice strained. Emily quickly assessed the situation. He wasn't in immediate danger, but he needed help. "I'm a nursing student," she said, kneeling beside him. "Let me take a look." She gently examined his leg, wrapping it with her limited supply of bandages. As she worked, she noticed the way his eyes softened when he looked at her, as if he were grateful for the kindness she was showing. When she finished, she stood up and smiled at him. "You should be okay, but you need to rest it," she said. The man smiled back. "Thank you. I didn't expect to run into someone like you today." She shrugged, her face turning slightly red. "It's nothing. Just doing my part." She helped him stand up and offered him a seat on the bench nearby. As she looked around, she realized how much time had passed. Her shift was long gone, and she had missed it entirely. "I'm so sorry," she said, looking at the time on her phone. "I should be at the hospital right now. I hope you're okay here." The man nodded, but there was something about the way he looked at her that made Emily pause. He was different. There was a calm in his demeanor, something that made her feel like everything was going to be okay, despite her missing the most important shift of the week. As she turned to leave, he called after her. "Wait," he said. She turned back, surprised. "Can I at least get your name? I want to thank you properly." She smiled shyly. "Emily," she said. "It was nice meeting you, but I really have to go." He nodded, his expression serious now. "I'm William," he said, "and I appreciate what you did. It's rare to find someone willing to help out of the kindness of their heart. I'll make sure to return the favor somehow." With that, Emily left, still feeling the weight of the moment in her chest. Little did she know that small act of kindness would change her life in ways she could never imagine. The next day, Emily sat at her small, cluttered desk in her cramped apartment. Her textbooks were spread out before her, but her mind kept drifting back to the man she had helped the day before. William. She couldn't shake the thought of him. His calm demeanor and the gratitude in his eyes stayed with her long after she had left him at the bus stop. She wondered about his life, what he did, and why he had looked at her with such sincerity. After all, she was just a nursing student, someone who barely had time to take care of herself, let alone anyone else. She had missed her clinical shift, and now she was struggling to catch up with her coursework. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a message from an unknown number. "Hi, Emily. This is William. I wanted to thank you again for your help yesterday. I was wondering if you'd be free for coffee sometime. I'd love to talk more." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She stared at the message, unsure of what to do. She had barely known him, yet there was something about him that felt different. A part of her wanted to ignore the message, keep things simple, and focus on her studies. But another part of her, the part that still believed in the goodness of people, felt drawn to him. After a moment of hesitation, she typed a quick response. "Sure, coffee sounds nice." When, a few minutes later, William replied with a time and place, a cozy cafe downtown. The next morning, Emily got ready for the meeting, her nerves running wild. She couldn't help but wonder what William wanted from her. Was he just being kind, or was there something more? She quickly dressed in her best outfit. Nothing too fancy, but something that made her feel confident. She didn't want to be late, so she left her apartment early, the streets of the city still quiet as the sun began to rise. When she arrived at the cafe, she spotted him immediately. William was sitting at a corner table, his presence commanding yet warm. He stood up as she approached and smiled. "Emily, thank you for coming," he said, his voice rich with sincerity. "It's great to finally meet you outside of the hospital." Emily smiled back, though her nerves still fluttered in her chest. "I'm glad you reached out. It's not every day that someone thanks you for something as small as helping with a wound." William waved it off. "It wasn't small. You took the time to care for a stranger. Not everyone would do that." They ordered their coffee and started talking about their lives. William shared stories of his work, his passion for helping people, and his struggles with managing a large business. Emily opened up as well, talking about her dreams of becoming a nurse, the struggles she faced in her studies, and her desire to make a real difference in the world. As they talked, Emily noticed something she hadn't expected, a deep connection. They didn't just share their stories, they listened to each other, understood each other. William wasn't just a wealthy CEO, he was someone who cared, someone who valued the same things she did. When the conversation turned toward their hopes for the future, William said something that surprised Emily. "You know, I run a nonprofit organization. We focus on healthcare initiatives for underserved communities. I think you'd be a perfect fit for one of our programs." Emily blinked, trying to process what he had just said. "Me? But I'm still in school. I don't think I'm qualified yet." William smiled. "I know you're just starting out, but you have something that many people don't. A genuine desire to help. That's what matters most." Emily was taken aback by his words. It was the first time anyone had believed in her like this. For the first time, she felt that her dreams were within reach. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something incredible. As the weeks passed, Emily found herself thinking about William more and more. What started as a chance encounter had slowly developed into something deeper. She joined his nonprofit, helping to organize healthcare outreach programs for underserved communities. Her skills as a nursing student, combined with her passion to make a real difference, made her a valuable asset to the team. Yet, despite her growing admiration for William, she still kept her distance. She never wanted to assume he saw her as more than just an employee, though his kindness made it hard to ignore the connection that had formed between them. One afternoon, Emily found herself at a company gala, invited by William to attend as part of the charity's new initiative. The glitzy ballroom was filled with businessmen, philanthropists, and people who seemed to live in a different world than hers. She stood by the edge of the room, feeling out of place in her simple gown, watching as people in suits discussed funding and future projects. William, as always, was the center of attention, his charm and confidence commanding the room. Despite the nervousness swirling inside her, Emily couldn't help but admire how effortlessly he moved through the crowd. Then, in the middle of a conversation with a well-dressed donor, William's gaze met hers across the room. A brief smile played at the corners of his mouth before he excused himself and walked toward her. "I'm glad you could make it," he said, his tone warm and welcoming. "You're doing incredible work for the foundation." Emily felt her cheeks flush. "Thank you. It's been an honor to be part of it." They stood there for a moment, the noise of the event muffled by the connection they shared. "How's everything going with the new project?" William asked, genuinely interested. "It's going well. I think it's going to make a real impact." Emily smiled, feeling a sense of pride in her work. "But I still have a lot to learn. I wouldn't be here without your guidance." William looked at her thoughtfully. "You've always had what it takes, Emily. I just gave you the opportunity to show it." She met his gaze, wondering if he realized how much his words meant to her. Before she could respond, a voice interrupted them. "Excuse me, Mr. Carter, there's someone you need to meet." William turned to face the new arrival, nodding politely. "Of course. Emily, I'll catch up with you in a bit," he said with a smile. As he walked away, Emily's heart skipped a beat. She didn't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, she had begun to look at him differently. There was no denying the chemistry between them, though she still couldn't bring herself to admit it. Over the next few weeks, their connection grew stronger. They spent more time together, both in and out of the office. William would often call her for advice, and they would have long conversations about their shared vision for the future of healthcare. Slowly, the walls Emily had built around her heart began to crumble. She started to realize that the man she had helped months ago was not only someone who had changed her career, but also someone who was becoming increasingly important in her life. But as her feelings for him grew, so did her fears. She had never been in a relationship like this before. He was a billionaire, and she was just a nursing student trying to make a difference. What if he only saw her as an employee? What if she wasn't enough for him? These thoughts plagued her, but she pushed them aside, focusing on the work she loved. Still, when they were together, it felt like the world around them faded away. There was no doubt in Emily's mind anymore. William was special. And so, as the gala ended and they said their goodbyes, Emily felt something stir inside her, a hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something even greater. It had been a month since the gala, and Emily was finding it harder to ignore the growing feelings she had for William. They had spent so much time together in the past weeks, both working on projects for the foundation and occasionally meeting for coffee or dinner. Each time they were together, Emily found herself feeling more drawn to him, but she still wasn't sure if he saw her the same way. Every time she questioned it, William would do something that made her heart skip a beat, like when he'd call her just to ask how her day was going, or when he'd listen intently as she shared her dreams and fears. It was clear that there was something more between them, but Emily still held back. She didn't want to assume too much, especially since they came from completely different worlds. She was just a nursing student, and he was a successful CEO. But one evening, everything changed. William invited her to a private event at his company's headquarters, a celebration for a new healthcare initiative the foundation had launched. It was a small gathering of key donors and employees, and Emily had been asked to speak about her involvement in the program. As she arrived, she was greeted by familiar faces, and for the first time, she felt confident in her role. She had worked hard for the past few weeks, and now she was part of something bigger than herself. As the night progressed, William approached her, his smile warm as ever. "You're doing an amazing job, Emily. I'm proud of you," he said, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Emily felt a rush of warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, William," she replied softly. "I couldn't have done it without your support." He smiled, but there was a certain intensity in his eyes that she hadn't noticed before. "I want to be honest with you," he said, his tone serious. "Over the past few weeks, I've come to realize that you mean more to me than just a colleague." Emily's heart raced. She was about to speak, but William continued before she could say anything. "I know this might be unexpected, but I've never met anyone like you. Your passion, your heart, it's unlike anyone I've ever known." Emily felt her breath catch in her throat. She had wanted to hear those words, but now that they were out in the open, she wasn't sure how to respond. "William, but he stopped her, placing a finger gently on her lips. "I don't expect you to feel the same way right away, but I had to say it. I'm not just offering you a job or a partnership here. I want something more, if you're willing to give it a chance." Emily stood there, stunned. She had never imagined that this moment would come. In her mind, she had kept everything professional, but now, as she looked into William's eyes, she saw the vulnerability and honesty she had been waiting for. She had always admired him for his success, but now she was beginning to admire him for the man he was, someone who was willing to be open and vulnerable with her. She took a deep breath, feeling a wave of emotions flood through her. She had no idea where this could lead, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was ready to take a leap of faith. "I'm willing to try," she whispered, her voice barely audible. William smiled, a mixture of relief and joy crossing his face. "Thank you," he said, his hand brushing against hers. "We'll take it one step at a time, together." As the night wore on, Emily felt a sense of peace settle in her heart. She didn't know what the future would hold, but she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer alone in this journey. She had William by her side, and for the first time, she felt that anything was possible. The days following Emily's decision to give William a chance were filled with a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. They spent more time together, not only working but also learning about each other in a way that went beyond the professional. William had always been kind and supportive, but now, his gestures felt more intimate, and Emily found herself drawn to him in ways she had never expected. One afternoon, they were working late at the office, wrapping up a big project for the nonprofit. The office was quiet, the hum of the computers and the soft rustling of papers the only sounds filling the room. William was at his desk, reviewing some documents, while Emily finished her work at the nearby table. She glanced over at him, her heart still fluttering when she caught his gaze. He smiled at her, that familiar warmth in his eyes. "You know, I never imagined this would happen," he said, his voice breaking the silence. Emily raised an eyebrow, curious. "What do you mean?" "This," William said, gesturing between the two of them. "I didn't expect to meet someone like you, Emily. You're different. You've made me see things in a new light." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She had heard him say similar things before, but now they felt more real, more profound. "I didn't expect it either," she admitted, looking down at her work. "But I'm glad it did." There was a pause, a moment of silence between them, before William stood up and walked over to her desk. He leaned against the edge, his presence comforting. "I've been thinking a lot about what I want," he said softly. "And it's not just about the foundation or the work we're doing. It's about finding something real, something lasting." Emily looked up at him, her breath catching in her throat. The vulnerability in his voice made her feel exposed, yet safe. "William," she started, but he gently placed a finger on her lips, silencing her. "I don't want to rush things," he said, his eyes searching hers. "But I want you to know that I'm serious. About you, about us." Emily's mind raced. She had never been in a relationship like this before. The idea of opening up, of truly trusting someone with her heart, felt overwhelming. But as she looked at William, she realized that the connection they shared was something she couldn't ignore. It wasn't just his wealth or status that drew her in. It was his sincerity, his kindness, and the way he made her feel like she was enough. "I'm serious too," Emily finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. William smiled, his hand gently brushing against hers. "I'm glad to hear that," he said, his voice filled with relief. The room felt warmer, the tension between them shifting into something more comfortable, more familiar. They stood there for a moment, neither of them saying anything, but the understanding between them was clear. As the evening drew to a close, Emily felt a sense of peace settle over her. She knew their journey wasn't going to be easy. There would be challenges ahead, both personal and professional. But for the first time in a long while, she felt like she had someone by her side who truly understood her. William had opened a door for her, not just to a new career, but to a new chapter in her life. And as they walked out of the office together, their hands brushing for just a second, Emily couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning. The weeks that followed were both exhilarating and challenging for Emily. Her relationship with William had deepened, but with that closeness came the pressure of balancing her personal life with her professional aspirations. They continued to work together at the foundation, and Emily found herself becoming more involved, using her skills to help those in need while growing alongside William. Still, something in the back of her mind lingered, a quiet uncertainty about how their relationship would evolve. One afternoon, as Emily was finishing up a meeting with a group of healthcare professionals at the foundation, she received a call from William. "Emily, are you free tonight?" His voice was warm, but there was something else in it, a hint of excitement. "I'm free. What's going on?" she replied, trying to hide the curiosity in her voice. "I want to take you somewhere," he said. "There's something I've been meaning to show you." Intrigued, Emily agreed, and later that evening, William picked her up in his car. The city was alive with lights as they drove through the streets, the sounds of the busy city fading into the background as they entered a quieter part of town. They arrived at a beautiful old building, its architecture a mix of modern design and historical charm. "What is this place?" Emily asked, her eyes wide with wonder. William smiled. "It's a project I've been working on for a while. I've been investing in reviving old buildings, turning them into spaces for art and creativity." He led her inside, and Emily was immediately taken aback by the beauty of the place. It was a large open space, filled with paintings, sculptures, and installations, each piece telling a story. "This is amazing," she said, her voice filled with awe. "I knew you had an eye for business, but this is incredible." William chuckled softly. "I've always believed that art and creativity are just as important as any business venture. It's about creating something lasting, something meaningful." As they walked through the space, William told Emily about his vision for the building, how he hoped it would become a hub for local artists and a place where people could come together to appreciate art. He wanted to create a community, a space where people could express themselves freely, and he had been working on the project for months. "This is where I want us to host our next charity event," William said, his eyes meeting hers. "I want to raise funds for healthcare initiatives, but I also want to show the world that there's more to life than just business. We can create something beautiful and give back to the community at the same time." Emily was touched by his words. She had always admired William's dedication to helping others, but seeing his passion for something as personal as this project made her realize how deeply he cared about making a difference in the world. "I think it's a wonderful idea," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "It's exactly the kind of event that can change people's lives." As they stood there, surrounded by art and the vision of a future they were both working toward, Emily felt a sense of peace. She was starting to understand what William had meant when he said he wanted something more than just a partnership. He wasn't just looking for business success. He was looking for something that truly mattered. And for the first time, Emily felt like she was a part of that something bigger, a journey that was about more than just work. It was about creating a legacy of love, art, and community. As they left the building, hand in hand, Emily knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them with William by her side. The months that followed felt like a whirlwind for Emily and William. They were more than just partners in business now. They were building something meaningful together. But as their relationship grew, so did the pressure. Emily had always believed in herself as a capable nursing student, someone who could make a real difference in the world. But now, with William's growing influence, she was finding it harder to keep up with the expectations that came with being part of his world. The Foundation's charity event at the art space was approaching, and Emily felt like she was juggling too many things at once. Between planning the event, final exams, and the constant pressure to prove herself, she was beginning to feel overwhelmed. One evening, as they were reviewing the event details at the office, Emily noticed a change in William's behavior. He seemed distracted, distant, something she hadn't seen from him before. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice soft but concerned. William paused, setting down the papers in front of him. "I'm just worried," he admitted, his voice low. "About everything, about how this event will turn out, about what people will think. There's so much riding on it." Emily was taken aback. She had never seen him show this kind of vulnerability before. He had always been so confident, so driven, but now she saw the weight he carried. "William, you've worked so hard. This event is going to be amazing. You've created something real here. It's not about what others think. It's about what we're doing, what we believe in." She took his hand gently, offering him the reassurance he had so often given her. But William shook his head. "I don't want you to feel like you're carrying the weight of everything with me. This is all too much sometimes." Emily looked at him, feeling the familiar pull of his uncertainty. She had never imagined that being with him would come with moments like these. Moments when she felt as if she was losing him to the pressures of his world. "William, I'm with you. I'm not going anywhere. But I also need to be honest with you. I've been feeling the pressure too. The Foundation's work, my studies, our relationship, it's a lot. And sometimes, I'm not sure if I can handle it all." Her words hung in the air, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, William looked up at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of understanding and guilt. "I didn't realize. I never wanted you to feel like this." Emily smiled faintly, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "I know, but I think we need to find balance. We can't do it all, not perfectly. We have to give each other room to breathe." William nodded slowly, his hand gently squeezing hers. "You're right. We've been so focused on doing everything for others, we forgot to take care of ourselves, to take care of us." There was a silence between them, but it was different from before. This time, it wasn't filled with tension or unspoken worries. It was a moment of shared understanding. "We'll figure it out," Emily said quietly, her voice full of conviction. "Together." William smiled, the weight lifting off his shoulders, if only a little. "Together," he echoed. In that moment, Emily knew that they could face whatever challenges came their way, not because they had all the answers, but because they had each other. The event was a success, of course, just as Emily had known it would be. But more importantly, it was the turning point in their relationship, the moment they realized that success wasn't just about the work they were doing, but about how they navigated their lives together, side by side. The pressures of the world outside their little bubble would always be there, but Emily and William had learned the most important lesson of all. They were stronger together. And with that, everything else seemed a little more manageable. As the months passed, Emily and William settled into a comfortable rhythm. They had found a balance between their work and personal lives, and Emily felt a sense of fulfillment she hadn't experienced before. Her studies were going well, and she had become more confident in her role at the foundation. William, too, was thriving, his company growing and expanding with each passing day. They had become more than just partners in a business sense. They had become each other's support system. But life, as always, had a way of throwing curveballs. One day, Emily received a call from her mother. It was a conversation she had been dreading for months. Her mother had fallen ill, and the doctors were concerned. Emily's heart sank as she listened to the news. She knew she had to go home, but the thought of leaving William, even for a short time, felt like a weight she wasn't sure she could bear. That evening, when William came over to her apartment, she told him everything. "I have to go," Emily said, her voice shaking. "My mom's not doing well. I need to be there for her." William, who had always been so strong and composed, looked at her with concern. "Of course you do. I'll support you no matter what," he said, his voice steady. "But I need you to promise me something." Emily looked at him, confused. "What?" "I need you to promise me that you won't forget to take care of yourself while you're there," he said softly. "You've been so focused on everyone else, but you need to make sure you're okay too. You're important, Emily." His words hit her harder than she expected. She had always put others first, but William was right. She needed to take care of herself, not just for him, but for her own well-being. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I promise," she whispered. "I'll take care of myself." The next day, Emily packed her bags and made the long drive home. The journey was difficult, filled with anxiety and uncertainty, but as she arrived at her mother's house, she felt a sense of calm wash over her. She knew she was where she needed to be. Her mother's condition was serious, but Emily was determined to stay strong for her. She spent the next few days helping her mother with everything she needed, from organizing doctor's appointments to making sure she was comfortable. It was exhausting, emotionally and physically, but Emily was doing what she had always done, taking care of others. As the days went by, she found herself reflecting on her life with William. The way he had been there for her, not just as a partner, but as someone who genuinely cared about her well-being. He had given her space to be herself, to follow her own dreams, while still supporting her in ways that made her feel valued and loved. One evening, as Emily sat by her mother's bedside, she received a message from William. "How are you doing?" it read. She smiled as she typed her reply. "I'm okay. It's tough, but I'm managing." A few moments later, her phone buzzed again. "I'm proud of you, Emily. You're stronger than you realize." His words, so simple yet so sincere, brought a tear to her eye. It was then that she realized how much she had grown, not just as a professional, but as a person. She had come so far, and a big part of that was because of William's unwavering belief in her. The next day, after spending some quiet moments with her mother, Emily made the decision to return to the city. Her mother was stable for now, and Emily knew that she had to get back to the work that awaited her. She was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that she had the strength to handle it all. And as she drove back to the city, she couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the man who had shown her that love and support could be the greatest strength of all. As Emily returned to the city, the weight of the past few weeks began to settle in. Her mother was stable, and she had made peace with the idea that she had given her all during her time away. Yet, as she drove back, she felt a quiet excitement stirring inside her. It was as if, with every mile closer to home, she was also moving closer to a new chapter in her life. She had been away for long enough to realize just how much she had grown, not just in her professional life, but personally, too. The work she was doing at the foundation, her connection with William, her commitment to herself, it all felt like it was falling into place. When she finally arrived at the apartment, she felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The familiar surroundings, the quiet space she had come to love, felt comforting. That night, as she settled in, her phone buzzed. It was a message from William. "I missed you. I'm glad you're back. Let's catch up soon." Her heart warmed at the thought of him, and for a brief moment, all the stress and the uncertainty of the past weeks melted away. She quickly replied, "I missed you too. I'll call you tomorrow." The next day, as they spoke on the phone, Emily found herself smiling more than she had in weeks. William's voice, so steady and caring, reminded her of how far they had come together. "I'm proud of you, Emily," he said, his words gentle yet sincere. I know it hasn't been easy, but you've handled everything with such strength. His praise meant more to her than she could express. Thank you, William, she replied. I couldn't have done it without your support. You've been there for me every step of the way. They talked for a while longer, making plans to meet later in the week. As she hung up the phone, Emily realized how much she had changed. She had always been someone who relied on her own strength, never allowing herself to lean too heavily on anyone else. But with William, she had learned that it wasn't a weakness to rely on others. It was a strength. That night, Emily sat quietly, reflecting on everything that had happened. The love and support she had received from William, her own personal growth, and the sense of purpose she had found in her work all felt like pieces of a beautiful puzzle slowly coming together. She no longer felt the overwhelming pressure she had once carried. She was beginning to understand that life wasn't just about meeting expectations. It was about finding joy in the journey, in the people you meet along the way, and in the moments that make you feel alive. Weeks passed, and Emily continued to flourish in both her personal and professional life. The charity event was a massive success, raising funds for the healthcare initiatives they had worked so hard on. But even more than that, it was a symbol of what they had built together, a partnership based on mutual respect, love, and shared dreams. Emily had never been happier. One evening, as they sat in the quiet of their favorite cafe, William reached across the table and took her hand. Emily, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, he said, his voice soft but filled with certainty. Emily's heart raced as she looked into his eyes. She had never imagined that life could be this fulfilling, that someone like William could see her the way he did. I want that too, she whispered, her voice steady but filled with emotion. And in that moment, surrounded by the quiet hum of the cafe, Emily realized that she had found everything she had ever hoped for: love, purpose, and a future with the person who had believed in her when she wasn't sure if she believed in herself. Together, they were ready to face whatever the future held, hand in hand, knowing that no matter the challenges, they had already built something beautiful, a life full of love, support, and the promise of more adventures to come. Discover an inspiring journey in this captivating tale of love, personal growth, and unexpected connections in the world of millionaire stories. Follow Emily, a nursing student, as she helps a stranger, unknowingly setting in motion a series of life-changing events. As her path crosses with William, a successful CEO, Emily begins to navigate the complexities of love, self-discovery, and her own future. This millionaire story showcases the power of kindness, hard work, and the unexpected turns that life can take when you least expect it. Emily's journey is filled with moments of doubt, growth, and the discovery of what truly matters in life. Through the ups and downs of her relationship with William, Emily finds herself challenged in ways she never anticipated, learning that success isn't just about career achievements, but also about finding love and balance. This millionaire story is a reminder that with the right support and determination, anything is possible. Watch as Emily and William embark on their adventure together, proving that love and support can change lives. Join them in this heartwarming tale where dreams are realized and love is found, as they face the challenges of life hand in hand. If you're a fan of millionaire stories that mix real-world challenges with heartfelt moments, this one will certainly leave you inspired. Follow Emily's growth from a shy student to a confident woman who embraces the future with love, strength, and the support of the man she never expected to meet. This millionaire story is a perfect blend of romance, personal transformation, and the beautiful twists life can offer.